The United States and the international community continue to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. One roadblock is how to create a new government without terrorists gaining control. A group of Israeli lawyers are proposing a plan they believe can bring lasting security for Israel and the people of Gaza. CBN's Julie Stahl explains.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is insisting Hamas be destroyed by the end of the war. Others believe the priority is a peace deal and that Gaza can be dealt with later.
It's very clear to everyone who's been paying attention that the situation in Gaza is untenable. You have a death cult of jihadist terrorists who literally wake up in the morning every day and try to figure out a way to bypass your defense mechanisms and to find a way to finally destroy you and kill and rape and destroy the state of Israel.
Speaking to CBN News during a seminar on the war, attorney Yifa Segal with the Israel Defense and Security Forum says October 7th serves as a prime example of what to expect if any remnant of Hamas leadership continues in Gaza.
They will do it again, given the chance. So it's very clear that we have to not repeat the same mistakes over and over again. We can't allow them to remain in power and then plan again for the next opportunity that they have to do another October 7th or, God forbid, something even worse than that.
Segal also argues that the Palestinian Authority should not have a leadership role.
What we have created at the end of the day is a corrupt entity. Also, from day one, they've been funding terrorism, they've been inciting to terrorism, they've been paying rewards and stipends to terrorists and their families.
She and other attorneys searched cases from the last century to find any success in overcoming what she called a crazy homicidal society that hates your guts.
So it didn't work in Afghanistan, and it didn't work in Iraq, and it didn't work in many other places, but it did work in Imperial Japan and in Nazi Germany. Within a few years, you see Germany, at least Western Germany, went back into being a very positive neighbor in Europe, a prosperous economy.
Segal's group, along with the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, came up with the Gaza Security and Recovery Program, which has four main principles.
First one is that Israel must have full military control over the Gaza Strip. Full military control. Because if we are there, we can prevent them from building terror tunnels, from building more rockets and factories and everything that we have seen.
For decades, Israel had a clear presence in the Gaza Strip as thousands of Israelis lived in communities there. After the 2005 Israeli withdrawal, however, the Palestinian Authority, followed by Hamas, had free reign over the region.
The second thing would be to make sure that we de-radicalize the Palestinian society in Gaza. And so we have to look at what are the engines of indoctrination in the Palestinian society. So first of all, it's the schools, right? It's the curriculum, it's the teachers, it's all the content, it's the mosques, everything that is being taught, under the auspices of the, radical Islamist ideology in the mosque.
She says it would be similar to the Marshall Plan implemented by the Allied powers after World War II in Nazi Germany and Japan. The third principle would be to break up control of the Gaza Strip.
Let's divide the Gaza Strip into 5, 6, 7, or 8 different districts, local governments, and then, if you need to replace somebody, then you can.
The last point would be putting conditions on international aid and support.
So there are a list of benchmarks that were suggested: cooperation, economical cooperation, social cooperation. Getting rid of, terror contact, the de-radicalization program. And then if you do better with that, you get more international aid support, infrastructure, money coming in.
Segal believes following this plan would enable those local governments meeting that criteria to build up their districts, while those supporting terror would not receive any outside funding to grow or improve infrastructure. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, obviously, Israel can't allow another Hamas government in Gaza. October 7th proved it for all time that no, we gave you Gaza. They pulled out. Under the Bush administration, they pulled out, and in that, they evacuated all the Jews. The infrastructure they had built up, particularly infrastructure for farming, was all destroyed by the Gazans in just a week after they pulled out. And then, under free elections, with the U.S. monitoring and hoping for an Arab Spring, that if democracy came, people would choose freedom, they elected Hamas. Now, what did Hamas do in the week following that election? They took the Fatah party members, that was the rival party in the election. They took them to the top of buildings and they threw them off. They killed them. So in that kind of cultural context, can you really control it enough? I think you can stop the rockets. I think you can stop the tunnels. I think you can stop the armaments. But that kind of ideology, even if you break Gaza into a bunch of different neighborhoods, they're going to fight with each other about who is the most perfect Muslim. And in Muslim ideology, once a land is under Sharia law, it's a shame. You cannot allow that. You have to retake that land. That's the ideology behind the whole Palestinian cause. And when you hear from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, it means Palestine will once again be under Sharia law. It's not going to be free. It's going to be under a religious theocracy, much like we see in Saudi Arabia, much like we see in Iran. So with that as a backdrop, until you change that fundamental ideology, you're not going to see change in Gaza, nor are you going to see change in the West Bank or in southern Lebanon. This is one of those intractable problems until you re-educate a whole generation to love peace instead of jihad, to say it's okay to live with Jews as your neighbor. It's okay for Israel to control the Temple Mount. These are fundamental issues, and until that ideology disappears, you're not going to see peace. So I'll quote the Bible, peace, peace, and yet there's still no peace.